Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 2 discussion. Welcome to the first day of patch 0.4.0, the Fate of the Vaal League, and the Last of the Druids expansion. Today, we're going to be talking about the early meta that's developing. This is not being looked at because these are going to be the builds of the league. Instead, these are the builds that got off to a flying start, and importantly, we're going to look at why they got off to a flying start. The first thing I want to do is take a look at some extreme outliers. At the time that I'm recording this video, or to be more precise, at the time that POE.ninja snapshotted the ladder last, there were 374 characters that were level 80 or higher. Now, of these 374 characters, you will notice something very, very significant when we start taking a look at the ascendancy breakdown that's present there. Firstly, you'll notice there are very, very few druids. Why is this, you might be wondering? Is it that the druid is terrible? No, it doesn't seem to be terrible. It's just that in order to get into this level 80 plus bracket, you need serious practice. It's not enough just to be quite good at the game and also to be quite determined to play from league start without interruption through to the first 15 hours. You also need to be very, very practiced. You need to know what the best thing is to do with your character to advance them all the time. Well, guess what? Absolutely no one knows how to optimize a druid yet. And for that reason, we have exactly 4 players who are playing a shaman at the moment, and we have exactly 2 players who are playing an oracle at the moment that have managed to reach level 80. Not because these classes are terrible, but because there is absolutely no one that's got practice in how to start them. Contrast this to literally 84 Amazons that have reached level 80 so far. Does this mean Amazon's the best ascendancy at the moment? No, it means that in the hands of the type of player who wants to try and push to be one of the very first level 100s on the server, Amazon, Pathfinder, and Deadeye are the 3 choices that these players are most likely to pick, and most importantly, the ones they're most likely to have extensive practice with before the league started. This is the passive tree heat map. The warmer that a color is, so the closer that it is to red in the spectrum of light, the more people are selecting to allocate that node. Now, you'll notice down here that there is something going on. We have 46.52% of people allocating Overwhelm, 45.72% allocating Colossal Weapon. We have the Area Damage Cluster, Crushing Judgment, 45.72% of people. Authority, also 45.72% of people. What is going on here is that this is one archetype. There is one archetype that a literal majority of the people who have managed to make it to level 80 so far have gone with, and this is the Grenades archetype. Now, the Grenades archetype can be played upon several different ascendancies. It is most commonly played on the Amazon, the Pathfinder, or the Deadeye. It is also quite good on the Witch Hunter, which is what I'm playing, quite good on the Tactician, and it can also be played on the Gemling Legionnaire, although that tends to come online a bit later once gear gets a bit better. So that's what's happening at the very top of the meta. We have a strong convergence onto something that was a known performer that people were able to practice with, and also that has attracted many of the best players in the game. So those people have decided, you know what, I do want to play a druid at some time, but I'm not going to play it at first because I want to race for the first level 90, the first level 100, the first Uber Arbiter of Vash, whatever it might be. These people have a particular goal, and the way they're going to achieve their goal is by going Amazon, Pathfinder, Deadeye, or maybe in some cases something else. Now, that's only 50% of the people that are playing these level 80 plus characters. And you'll see if you have a look down here that crossbows make up basically 50%, and literally every single crossbow user among them is using Explosive Grenade. So if we block out the crossbows and then take another look at what's available, you'll see a very, very different passive tree texture. However, there are a few specific things that are popular here. Gas Arrow, Poisonburst Arrow, Toxic Growth, Essence Drain, Herald of Blood, Bone Storm, Contagion, Vine Arrow. This is just a couple of different archetypes melding together. But the key things that you'll see here, there's a number of people that are playing some sort of Chaos Damage Over Time build. There's a number of people that are playing some sort of Bone Storm build, and those are separate builds to each other. On top of that, there are a number of people that are over in the Warrior area of the tree, doing their own thing as well, but they're a little bit further down the list. These are the things that are doing the very, very, very best in the hands of the very, very best players. Things look a bit different when we move away from the best players and we start looking at the very good ordinary players. Here, what we're going to do is take a look at people who have yet to reach level 80, but have reached level 60. So this is people who have progressed quite a long way. This is going to tell a pretty similar story again, but with a couple of important changes. Firstly, you'll notice a lot more druids here. The shaman is up to 7% of the meta here. This is definitely not as popular as the Pathfinder or the Amazon or the Deadeye, but it has taken over from a lot of things that were beating it when we looked at the 80 plus characters. What's going on here? This is the price that people who are very good players of the game pay in order to play something that's brand new. They decide, you know what, I'm going to go with the shaman because shaman cool. I know that if I was to go absolutely hard on the game from launch, I could potentially run an Amazon and get myself up to level 80, maybe even 85 by this point. But I would rather have more fun playing a druid, and they've looked at the two druid ascendancies and they've chosen the shaman as the one they think is better. Or a couple % of the time, they've chosen to go with the oracle instead. The druid is functioning reasonably well. The reports that I've had from other players have been that the druids in the wolf form, they've been performing not derisory, but not very well. But the druids that are playing in the bear form have been performing quite well. Few people have been complaining about them. Most people have been saying it's been working quite well for them. But it's not been something that's been a superstar setup. And also, it's the sort of thing that will get optimized more as there's more time to play with it, play around and refine things, and as we start to learn what the best leveling setups are. So these are the people who haven't gone with the very best, but have generally played in a solid way. And the sorts of classes that they're playing, again, Pathfinder, Amazon, and Deadeye are dominant. And when you look at those Pathfinders, those Amazons, and those Deadeyes, you'll find that overwhelmingly they are playing Explosive Grenade as well. In fact, when we filter out to only show people who are using Explosive Grenade, you'll see exactly where that's coming from. Also, if we filter out to exclude Explosive Grenade, you'll start to see that Pathfinder has a number of other things that are popular there, and that includes Toxic Growth, Poisonburst Arrow, Gas Arrow, Vine Arrow, Herald of Blood. There's a couple of shenanigans that are going on there. But basically another known good performer that a lot of people have been getting good luck with. In terms of the passive tree heat map, this is going to look like a complete mess, although you will still notice the same general structure of the crossbow tree, unless you filter it to either show only the grenade builds or to exclude the grenade builds. And once we ban Explosive Grenade, you'll see again that most people are either in the north area of the tree or in the east area of the tree. The east area of the tree is your Poisonburst Arrow type setups, and the north area of the tree is mostly your chaos damage over time through Essence Drain. These are the builds that are doing best when we look at those people who have reached high level, but not extraordinarily high level. What about when we look at players who are currently at the end of Act 4 or potentially into the early interludes? Here, compile a list of players that are level 50 to 59 inclusive. Here again, it's telling a similar but slightly different story. You'll see here that the shaman is performing very, very highly. And this, I think, tells us something about the druid. The druid is a very strong early performer, but it is starting to fall off, at least with the current builds, around level 50 to 60. It's getting you there to level 50 to 60, but as I sort of suspected, people are getting there and they're just having to take longer in order to get through to the interludes. That's why the percentage of people who are playing shamans is so high in levels in the 50s, and then so much lower once you get to levels in the 60s. It's that these players are just taking longer to get through the interludes. A bunch of reasons for this. The druid is not yet optimized, and people's experience with playing the druid just isn't yet there. So you're making more mistakes when you're playing it. You're probably using some inefficient support gems, all that sort of stuff. Now, in terms of interesting dark horse builds that you might want to consider, so if you're not interested in playing Explosive Grenade at all, you are also not interested at all in playing the Poisonburst Arrow builds that are going around, and you're also not interested in playing Essence Drain, then you'll start to see that there's a number of particular archetypes that start being quite popular. And here, again, the passive tree heat map becomes quite useful. You'll see that the most common thing that people are playing around with is the Druid section. And here you'll have Furious Slam, which is shapeshifting into a bear, very popular. Pounce, which is the werewolf one, is something that is less popular but is still getting some interest. And then after that, you have Orb of Storms, which is looking into your Remnant Elemental Spellcaster style playstyle, and a whole bunch of other skills that are further down. But the interesting thing to note is that there are some areas of the passive tree that are very empty. Now, of course, you're not going to see many people taking grenade nodes because we're saying no explosive grenade. And if you're playing grenades, you're playing explosive grenade because the best one of them. But you'll also notice that there's not very much down in the mercenary section of the tree at all. So it's not like people are doing other things with their crossbows other than using grenades. No, they're just electing not to play crossbows at all. And they're also electing to stay out of this part of the passive tree. The other area of the tree that is particularly sparse is the area near the monk. It's not that there is no one playing in the monk. You'll see if you have a look here at the invoker, there are definitely people that are playing this, and they are staying mostly in the invoker area of the tree, but there's just not that many people that are playing in that area of the tree, and that's why it's so much darker. Also, the Acolyte of Chayula getting buffed wasn't enough, and it seems almost no one has elected to play that so far. What will be really interesting to watch, though, is how this evolves over time, because right now we're reporting based upon day one data, 15 and a half, 15 and 3/4 hours into the league. This information is going to change a lot as people start to get a bit better with some of the newer classes. The other thing that I think is worth pointing out here is that the new Disciple of Varashta is something that, whilst it's not being played by very many people because it got teased so late, it does seem to be something that people who have been playing with it have been saying is quite strong. Specifically, the Fire and Sand Djinni, they seem to do quite a lot of damage, and that's resulted in people who have been playing with it reporting that it's been feeling quite good. However, it's one of those things that's very hard to optimize at the moment, especially because some of the scaling mechanics are not entirely clear on the various minions that come with the ascendancy. So we're going to need to solve a lot of things there, and the Disciple of Varashta will be a bit weaker than it will be once all of those things are figured out, and once some optimization can take place with it. One last thing I'd like to add is that if you have a look at some of the harder game modes, you'll find that the number of people playing in them is quite a bit lower. So for instance, if we take a quick look at Solo Self-Found, and I'll just refresh this, you'll see that the first person is level 89, but then when we jump down, we've got 85. It's a huge jump down to 85. And then there's only about 6 more people that are level 80 plus. And of those, there's one person that has retired at level 80 and has gone over to trade. After that, there's not that many people that are in their 70s either in level. It's just the case that the people who wanted to go really fast this league, they were generally electing to play in the trade-enabled league instead. And I feel this is even more true when you take a look at Hardcore, where in Hardcore, you've got level 72 is enough to put you at 10th on the ladder. And if we have a look at Hardcore and the Solo Self-Found rule set together, then again, that sort of level range is enough to get you into the top 10. Interestingly though, Hardcore Solo Self-Found is more competitive than the Hardcore Trade-Enabled League this time. And you'll see here, Smith of Gatava is everywhere. Smith of Gatava has put 112 people into the top 1,000 on the ladder, and amongst the top 10, it has put in a massive, massive 6. That's because Smith of Gatava is a very, very strong choice if you're electing to play with both the Hardcore and the Solo Self-Found rule sets. By contrast, there are exactly 6 people who are playing a Smith of Gatava on the top 1,000 of the main Fate of the Vaal ladder. One thing that's a little bit unfortunate is that the ladder currently does not show the new ascendancies on it. So there is this character that's currently in 120th place in the trade-enabled softcore league, and this character's ascendancy doesn't show up. This likely means that it is either one of the Druid ones or the Disciple of Varashta, but as to which one it is, we don't know. However, in softcore trade, it is definitely Amazon's as far as the eye can see. Amazon just has a speed edge. It's one of those things where when the best few percent of the player base decide this is 1% better than the alternatives, they tend to converge on it, which then makes it look even better than it otherwise would. Anyways, that's a quick look at the early game meta, looking at both extremely high level characters and also just high level characters. Give you a bit of a sense as to what's been popular so far. The very, very peak, the very, very pinnacle, it is people playing crossbows, mostly on Amazons, Pathfinders, and Deadeyes, and it is also a couple of other Poisonburst arrow type builds on the Pathfinder ascendancy. Those are doing the best, and you can also play a lot of those builds down on any of the mercenary ascendancies that you like as well. I'm going to leave it there. May your Varlobs have interesting results, and hopefully this has added to your decision paralysis if you're only just about to start the league and trying to work out what you want to play.